Good evening, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Boulder International Film Festival's Outstanding Performer of the Year evening. I'm Scott Feinberg, the Hollywood Reporter's Executive Editor of Awards Coverage, and prior to the festival's presentation of that aforementioned prize, I have the honor tonight of sitting down for a career retrospective with its recipient. We'll be recording this conversation for an episode of the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast, which I hope you'll all take a moment to check out and subscribe to for free on any podcast app. But now down to business. My guest, our guest, is one of our greatest actors of stage and screen. Someone who I actually had the opportunity to speak with once before. Not that he will remember this, but this was 19 years ago when I was in high school, and he was nice enough to give me a telephone interview. So this is a full circle moment for me, which I want to thank him for. This is a man once described by Pauline Kael as a wizard at eager, manic, full of life roles, and by David Denby as a real actor. He is indeed one of just 36 people alive today who have won the Best Actor Oscar. He did so 38 years ago for Amadeus for his unforgettable portrayal of the composer Antonio Salieri. And earlier this week, he added another statuette to his mantelpiece, and that was when he accepted the Best Ensemble in a Drama Series SAG Award on behalf of his entire cast and group of castmates from the second season of the HBO limited series The White Lotus. That show was released in 2022, late in 2022, as were two others in which he starred, the Disney Plus limited series Moon Knight, and, yes, give that a round of applause, and the third season of the Apple TV Plus comedy series, Mythic Quest. In other words, at the age of 83, and after 52 years as a screen actor, this man is as busy and at the center of things as ever, and eminently worthy of the Boulder International Film Festival's highest honor, Outstanding Performer of the Year. Would you please join me in welcoming to the Boulder International Film Festival and the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast, Mr. F. Murray Abraham.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I in the wrong place? Thank you.
Well, now you know the real me.
Thank you for coming to Boulder. It's great to
pleasure.
see you. So,
A real pleasure. I had a good time.
come back soon and stay often. But so I want to begin right at the beginning for people who may not know. Where were you born and raised, and what did your folks do for a living?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh, but we're blue-collar people in my family, steel workers and coal miners and railroad workers. And when my brother and I were quite young, we moved to El Paso, Texas. I grew up on the border speaking Spanish. I grew up about 4 blocks from the Rio Grande, and all my playmates were Mexican, and I grew up speaking Spanish. I had to, when I decided to become an actor, I had to learn to speak without the accent, and what you hear now is all fake. I really sound like the character that I played in Scarface.
Yes, which we will come to. Now the F in F. Murray Abraham.
I made that up. It's actually a tribute to my father. My father's name was Frederick, and I just took the F and stuck it in front of my name. Besides, it makes it stand out.
It certainly does, yeah. It's a good
But
conversation
people have all
starter.
kinds of ideas of what the F stands for. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
So, what people may not know is that up until I think about the age of 16, you were a bit of a troublemaker, right? What was going on?
Well, it was, in those days, it was the beginnings of the gangs along the border. We made a gang, too, for self-defense. We weren't real tough. We pretended. There were some bad guys, though, in town. And it was the beginnings of the Crips and the Bloods. They were called Pachucos. And they were the guys, La Raza. Same thing there as in along the border of San Diego. And that was the beginning of those gangs. They had to. The Mexicans were all second-class citizens. They were treated very badly, and we're poor. Anyhow, the point is we grew up in a gang, and we did some stupid things. We didn't really hurt anybody badly, but we damaged property. We did stupid things like that. I mean, really stupid. And when I was about 16, for some reason, this teacher said, try this. That teacher, Lucia P. Hutchins, high school, long time ago, she said, try this. It's changed my life. And I broke away from the gang and started to teach myself how to speak better English. And I had, the first time I stepped on stage, I knew where I belonged. You know, that's nothing but good fortune. It really is good luck. Changed my life. And I always felt that I was really good. I mean, I don't know where I got that idea from, because I just did one performance, and then shortly after that I won an award in the state of Texas. And that was a scholarship to go to college. Otherwise, my father would never have paid for me to go to college, not to be an actor. And that scholarship, by the way, to go to college was $100.
Now,
that's the way it should be.
That got you into college.
Yeah.
What made you, not that long after, decide to get out of there?
Well, after I spent a year at college, and acting and working in building sets, I decided I just wanted to seek my fortune in L.A. So I thumbed my way to Los Angeles. You could hitchhike easily in those days. It wasn't a problem. A lot of people were doing it. On the Road was a very big book with us in those days, Kerouac. Mm-hmm. And when I got to L.A., I started to try to learn to be an actor, and I studied and performed. And
now, you didn't stay in L.A. for very long, and I wonder, I mean, I've read accounts, sometimes information isn't accurate, of course, online or elsewhere, but that, I mean, were you living on sleeping on the beach, like really struggling?
Oh, it was a lot easier to live out there. It was a little dangerous in Venice Beach in those days, but because it was dangerous, it was really cheap. Because nobody wanted to live there, you know. And you could sleep on the beach, too, you know. It was a little dicey, but you could do it. Now you can't do that, and Venice is expensive, like everything in L.A., like everything everywhere. But in fact, I was parking cars for quite a while, and then I started working backstage at UCLA. And then I finally broke through and did a play for Ray Bradbury. God rest his soul, he was a great man. Yeah, he's a great man. And he became a friend. He became friends with many people. He was that kind of guy. And after that play, during the run of that play, it's called Wonderful Ice Cream Suit, based on a terrific short story. Anyway, I decided then that I didn't want to stay in L.A. I didn't like the way actors thought of themselves. They were good actors, but I thought of myself as a great actor. I mean, I always felt that way. And I thought, I want to do the classics, because I don't believe you can be called great unless you do the classics. And that's the way I felt. And I wanted a good teacher. So I went to New York and studied with Uta Hagen.
Let me stop you for 1 second, because before you went, this is November 1965. Wow. Before you go to New York, you did acquire something important in L.A., right?
What?
I believe that's where you met your wife, right?
Oh. No. That was that's the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Was the day I met my wife. Absolutely. We were married in 1962, and we were married for 62 years. My wife. I don't know why I brought this. My wife passed away recently. But we carry on, you know. But it was we were together for over 62 years.
And you started to build this beautiful life together in New York in November 1965. You were, as you started to say when I interrupted you, you were starting with a now legendary acting teacher. What can you tell us about Uta Hagen and what you learned from her.
Well, Uta Hagen was my only teacher. She liked me and she respected my work. But you like people you respect, you know. Anyhow, the point is, I became a favorite among others. When I say that, I became one of the monitors. I was allowed to turn off and on the lights, you know, when they did their scenes. That was a big honor. Anyway, an interesting commentary for those of you who are students or will become students. The stronger your teacher is, the more charismatic he or she is, the more you will follow under their, if you don't watch yourself, you will forget everything you brought to the table and try to please them, try to do exactly what they say. And that's what happened to me. So after over a year with her, I began to get worse and worse and worse. I mean, I began to lose track of who I was. I wasn't any good anymore. And the last class I took with her, I was doing, I think it was the chorus from Henry V. She stopped me in the middle of the presentation, which she never did, and she said to the class, "He has a great talent and he pisses all over it." So that was the last class I took with her, and I left. And as soon as I left, I started to recover myself and my old instincts. But she knew what was happening between us, and I think that's why she did what she did to get rid of me.
So those first, I don't know, let's say 15 years in New York. You
Wait a minute. My first job in New York.
Please?
I was a Macy's Santa. Yeah.
How did that pay?
I was there for 1 month, and I was a Macy's Santa.
I mean, the variety of stuff that you did during those, again, let's say about first 15 years in New York, off-Broadway, Broadway, but also street comedy or street theater, children's theater. It's pretty, you were the epitome of a jobbing actor, right? A guy who's out there just, enjoying it because you love the craft and you'll do it where you can, right?
That's right.
And it was primarily, and this may come as a surprise to people who first discovered you with Amadeus and in the years since, you were primarily working in comedy, right?
Yes, always.
So was it surprising to you when things began? Like, I think you, in some ways, maybe prefer comedy, right?
Yeah. I like to make people laugh.
So when...
See? No, that's my talent. I think I like to see them laugh. Sure. I love to tell jokes. Can't tell jokes anymore.
Like Bert learned.
You might offend too many people. And you can get into some serious trouble, too. But
Yes.
I think the jokes, if they ever come back, they're really acting. They're like whole little plays. Anyhow, I like to make people laugh, and I think Salieri was funny.
So, yeah, he definitely, especially the older
Yeah.
Salieri. First screen job, 1971 for George C. Scott.
Oh, yeah, They Might Be Giants.
They Might Be Giants. Was screen acting always something that you were hoping to do, or did it just kind of come along?
Oh, no, I knew I was going to win an Oscar.
Really?
Every actor does. It's no big deal. But I really knew it. You feel it. You have to. You got to think you can do these things when you're set out. Otherwise, how are you going to get it done?
Right.
It's a disappointing, tough business, but you got to have something to help you along, some kind of hope. And my hope, I was certain, and I'm certain I'm going to get another one.
Yeah. There we go. Well, so there are some of these early films that followed that. You were not the first person on the call sheet, but you were doing strong work in small parts where if we look back at it now, people perk up and think, oh my God, it's F. Murray Abraham. But at the time, I think I'd love to hear what you remember about a few of these. So can I prod you on a handful? Let's go with first, the unnamed, I believe, partner of the cop played by Al Pacino in Sidney Lumet's Serpico. This is 1973.
Yeah, that was a good scene. I'll tell you, first of all, working with Sidney Lumet is an experience. I'm so sorry I never worked with him again. But that was about 2 weeks' work in New York City. And I don't know how many of you remember that film, but in the scenes where, thank you, in the scenes where that I'm in with Al, Al and I knew each other for years in New York while we were struggling. We weren't friends, but we knew each other. It's a small town, New York, and it is small anyhow, show business. But when he became prominent and famous, as he was in that movie already, he was really a very generous actor. He gives to his fellow actors a lot. For example, in that little scene of ours, a few lines, he would say, did you like that take? Do you want to do it again? You want to do some improvisation? That's the kind of actor he was.
Nice.
And in that scene, we were supposed to be in the middle of winter. If you see it again, think of this. We were all in overcoats and cold, and it was so hot that day. So when you look at it, you say, they're really acting.
Right. Let's go to the next one. You were a car mechanic, like your father.
Oh, yeah.
In
Yeah.
The Sunshine Boys,
Yeah.
for which George Burns won an Oscar. And
That's right.
what your scene, though, was with Walter Matthau.
That's right.
Pretty funny. He's looking for an agency or something. And
Yeah.
he comes. But anyway, just I guess. Just a pure coincidence that you were playing a car mechanic, or was that? I mean,
It was good luck because
Yeah.
I worked in the garage with my father.
Yeah.
It's a good mechanic.
Yeah.
But it was a half a day's work. And try to catch that movie. That's a good movie. But also that scene is a very good scene. Very brief. A half a day's work. And it was really, it turned out well. You never know when you do it. It could be crap, but this was good. And Walter Houston has a reputation for being very tough. He was terrific with me.
Matthau,
I mean,
yeah,
we got
yeah.
along very well. But yeah, that's a good scene. We haven't got a lot of time, have we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Listen, when that film was shot, I hadn't done too much film work, really. I had done commercials, which is where I began to learn how to act in front of a camera. But between the making of the film and the release of the film, something had come up, and I was doing something in London. I think I was working on the Ritz in London. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, the point is I had never seen my movie. I had never seen that movie. And because it was such a small part, I didn't think I'd have much of a credit. You know, it'd be like, Abraham, you know. Well, because there weren't many people in that movie, when the credits came out, and I'm sitting in London looking at this thing, and when the credits came out, my name was with several other names, but it was big. And do you know what I did when I saw my name? I went, ah! Can you believe it?
Well, so here's another one where if people go back and watch this, it's not, again, these are before the parts got larger, but pretty amazing movies you're in. This is 1976. You are one of the cops who caught the Watergate burglars in Alan J. Pakula's All the President's Men.
Pakula, he was a great director to work for, a wonderful, wonderful man. And that becomes one of the things I remember most about my work is the people you enjoyed working with. And I've had some good luck, some bad luck too, but some good luck, you know, and he was one of those guys, real mensch, a real human being. But that movie, I was in it for just about a minute. But the research that went into it, they wanted to make sure they got everything right because of the lawsuits, the this and that. You know, they were very careful. They were so careful. We would shoot in the same rooms where those things happened, and the guy across the street who was looking there as the spy, he was in the same room at the Holiday Inn where it actually happened. And yeah, and I met the guy who I played. I got his hat. I tried to get his accent, you know. And it was I'm a serious actor. I am.
That's it.
But Alan allowed, I'm going to tell you a secret. Alan allowed me to do something that I'd like to do for fun. I love my work. I'm a serious actor. I really am. But I'd like to have a good time. And there, at one moment in in this President's Men, I come up over the edge of this. It's in an office, and I come up over with my gun because I'm a cop, and they're breaking in, right? And I expected to see a bunch of street people busting in, trying to steal something, right? And I come over the top, and I see these guys with suits and ties, you know? And we took the shot again and again and again and again. And then we reversed the camera to show them. And all this time, it's over this barrier, right? So, he said, try to make them surprised. I mean, really surprised. So I would say, oh, you're under arrest. Drop that, you know. And I did it so many times. After a while, it's the same old thing. So one time, I took my pants off. And I said to them, I got no pants on. I think that's the take they used.
That's great. You mentioned the Ritz. This is a part that you had played first on Broadway for Terrence McNally. Then they make a film version with Richard Lester.
Right.
This is Chris, a flamboyantly gay bathhouse proprietor.
Right.
I don't know if that part would be cast the same way today, but at the time, it was very well, obviously, well, you and McNally, let's talk about that, because you guys did several things together, right?
I did more of his plays than any other actor.
Yeah, so
we became very good
just
friends.
recently passed away. What made him so good?
He was a human being. He was a humanist. He really cared. He was an extraordinary man. If you have time, if you care, take a look at his bio. He's did a lot, accomplished a great deal. He was a very serious gay activist, and in the days when it was tough. And my character that I played was flamboyant. Chris was his name, and the most flamboyant in the whole play. But it was in a gay bathhouse, so there were a bunch of men walking around with just towels on. It was based on a place called. It was a very famous men's bathhouse where Bette Midler used to entertain. Yeah, and good old Bette. And anyway, what the conceit of my character, what Terrence had in mind was to make this big play. It was a farce, full of a bunch of crazy people running around, and the sanest person on the stage was this very flamboyant gay man. What he was trying to say was, this is a human being. He's a man. And he's the only one who really has his brains not scrambled. Anyway, as you say, I don't know if we could play that today, but it was I loved doing that part.
Sure.
And by the way, I should say this. I was in very good shape. And I loved walking around showing off my body, you know. It's great. But the people who came backstage to say hello to me at the stage door up to my dressing room were women. Men didn't come backstage. The gay men, I think they were afraid to be associated with someone who was so out. They all thought I was gay, I suppose. But why the women came back, I never understood. Maybe they were trying to convert me. I mean, really, I go get it. They never came back when I did Cyrano.
Well, let's there are these moments that we've been referring to that exciting opportunities, small but exciting. However, you started to have a young family, some children, a wife, and at a certain point, I believe around 1978, there was some kind of a conversation where this was not going the way you wanted it to be going, or what was it where you kind of had to reevaluate? I think you started staying at home, right? And your wife went to work.
Yeah. I decided that I was doing a lot of commercials, and I decided that the movie roles were not really. I wanted bigger things. I wanted better things, and I was going to hold out for better things, but they weren't coming my way. And I also thought that I was becoming slick in my technique because the commercials were so easy, and it was a way to make money, which was necessary. But I thought it was a danger, and I should start studying again, so I did. And the idea that you can be so arrogant, and it does take a bit of arrogance to be any artist, I think. you can't forget the humility, but the arrogance is necessary. And I always knew I was going to be successful, but it was a long time coming. But I kept holding out and insisting, I don't want that part, I want that part. And that's what happened when Amadeus came along.
But first, absolutely, we're gonna do a lot of applause for Amadeus in a second. But right before Amadeus was Scarface, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, just to remind people again, you're back with Pacino 10 years after Serpico. This is playing a guy, Omar Suarez, an underboss to the rich drug dealer Frank Lopez, played by Robert Loggia. This is Brian De Palma, 1983. And you, as you said at the beginning, this is you playing a character who, you know, was had an accent like you grew up with. What else do you remember about the making of Scarface, including what you heard about in the middle of that? I think that was where Amadeus first came up, right?
Yeah. I auditioned for Scarface. It was an improvisation in Brian De Palma's apartment with Al, and the audition went well, and I was waiting to hear from him when Milos Forman, who was going to cast this part of Salieri, was sending out a message to the casting agents. In those days, and maybe it's still happening, what they would do is gather 4 or 5 or 6 actors and ask them to do an improv around a given scene. And from those 4 or 5, they would decide who they wanted, then they would cull it down and down and down. And I was asked to come in to be one of those bunches of people. And it's, you know, it's an opportunity to meet Milos Forman, for one thing. But I said, this role of Salieri is the one I want. I was nobody. And I said, it's going to go to a British actor. I like the British actors, generally, I do. But I don't think they're better than American actors. I think we do Shakespeare better than they do. Because we bring a new energy to it, some real guts to it. I almost said balls, but you can't say that anymore. You bring some real energy and we bring a newness. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. Anyhow, you get my point. We do it, never mind. I just felt I was not about, oh, by the way, one of the ways I got rid of my Mexican accent was to listen to British actors. I listened to Gielgud and Olivier and Robert.
Richardson, yeah. Robert.
Yeah, Richardson was one of my favorites. And then after that, Barrymore, an American, and then I almost worshiped those guys. And then when Brando came along, I said, that's it. Anyway, the point I'm making is I didn't want to go up and try to get a supporting role for another British actor. The first British actor who did the role in London won the top award. He didn't do it in New York. Ian McKellen did it. A nice man, by the way, a guy I can call my friend. He did it in New York. He won the top honors in New York. And it was a British writer. The point is, it was going to be a British actor who got the part. And I didn't want to do that. And I said, no, I want to do that role. Tell him I want to do. He called me again. Not me, well, maybe me. The point is, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then the third call, he said, I want to see you for the role. So I went to his apartment. I got the sides. We discussed it. We ran over the scene briefly. And then a couple of days later, we were going to do a taping of it. It was tape in those days. It was videotape. Anyhow, the point is, it was a thrilling time for me. I mean, it was really. But I gotta tell you, that play was successful worldwide. It was no matter in over 30 languages, and it seems like everyone who played Salieri won the top honor. So that when Milos was casting Salieri, every actor in the world wanted that part.
Including Al, right?
Al, but yeah, everybody.
Right.
And he had his choice of the biggest box office actors in the world. And some of those very famous people came to the auditions, I was told, with their own makeup person, and sometimes with a costume. They really wanted, the point is, he had his choice. So I showed up at the taping, bunches of actors at this one big place, you know, next, for different roles. And I went in and I did the thing I had worked on. I happened to do it with an actress I knew. Little scene. The scene where he reads Mozart's music for the first time. Do you remember that scene where he's looking at the pages? That's the scene I did. And then he dismissed the actress and said, "All right, Murray, do the old man." And I said, "I didn't even look at the old man. Let me go look." He said, No, just do it." So I did it. And when I got through doing it, faking it, you know, I looked up to see what his reaction was, and he was gone. He wasn't even there. So I figured he hated it. So I went home, and then 2 days later, he called me and says, "I want you for the part."
That's awesome. So just if anyone...
Then there's more. So I said, "You want me for the part, but there's something you're saying. What's next?" He says, "No, we have to, the writer has to agree, and the producer has to agree." The producer, it's big money. And I thought, well, that's it, forget it. And in the meantime, while all this was going on, Brian had cast me in Scarface. And he was waiting for me to answer. I had a family. I need the money. And I said, "Brian," very nice man, Brian. I said, "Brian, can you give me some more time?" He says, "Why?" He says, "Because I got this other thing that may happen." He says, "What other thing?" I said, "Amadeus." "Well, I'll give you some more time. I'll give you as much time as I can. But you got to come up with an answer." Meantime, they were negotiating, and Saul Zaentz was the producer, very tough negotiator, and negotiating. And I said, "Look, you got to tell me." He didn't tell me. So I took Scarface. Of course, not ashamed of it. I'm happy about it.
It's a great movie.
And working with, some good actors, and making some money, paying the rent. And we went to L.A. to work for 1 week rehearsal on the film as though it were a play. Al had insisted, and he was powerful enough to get, that's a very expensive proposition. A whole company of people flown to the coast, put up, paid for a week of rehearsal, unheard of. Anyway, we were doing it, and it paid off. It was a good movie. And in the middle of the week of rehearsal, I got the call that I was going to do Salieri. So when that happened, word spread very quickly, and people were coming over saying, nice things. They were happy for American, and blah. And I started getting offers to go for here and there. Would you like to have a ride? Would you like to this guy to come on and dinner? And it was okay. But Al came over and said, "Murray, don't try to carry the whole movie on your shoulders. Just do your work." He's a good man.
Yeah. So if there's anyone who hasn't yet seen Amadeus, I am almost envious because the first time is going to blow your mind, as will any subsequent times. But just for background, Salieri, maybe in real life his dynamic with Mozart was not as extreme as it was from Peter Schaffer, but great drama. So it becomes, he's this, in the movie, even more so than I think even on stage, composer who sees with envy when Mozart comes along, this younger composer, and Salieri cannot understand how God could give so much talent to such a
potty mouth.
Whereas here's this devout guy Salieri, who is not as talented, right? So I just want to ask you, first of all, if people may wonder, because you referred to the fact that Milos Forman, coming off of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which had swept the Oscars, then two sort of disappointing things with Hair and Ragtime, but now he can have anybody he wants, and he chooses two actors for the leads who are not household names at that time, yourself and Tom Hulce. if people are wondering why, here is a quote from Milos in the New York Times in 1984. Quote, "The role of Salieri is possibly the most flashy stage role of the last decade. It offers great opportunities for broad, stylized, flowery acting, but that wouldn't do on screen. I felt in the movie all the intensity of Salieri's obsession had to be reflected in the actor's face. Murray had that quality from the very first reading." Close quote. So that, have you seen that?
I promise you, that's the first time I've heard that.
Wow.
I know I am, because I love compliments. I mean, you know, like Mark Twain said, if I don't get them, I pay them to myself. But Milos never paid me a compliment. No, he didn't. The closest he came to it was after the Academy Awards speech. He said, "That was a very good speech." But I found out later that that's the kind of man he is. He was just very, but that makes me well up a little bit. Let me finish this story about shooting Scarface, though. They cast me and it was shot in Prague, but I was already contracted to do Scarface. So I actually shot those two movies at the same time. I shot in Prague, then they would fly me to Hollywood, and I would do this drug dealer, then I'd fly back, and I'd do something back and forth. And it may sound like a hard thing to do. It was easy, because the parts were so different. I mean, if they were similar, it would have been more tricky, you know, to find the difference. It was like a vacation to go from that costume drama, spending your time in that long flight back to study the next character. And it was the same back and forth. It was very glamorous. It was like Hollywood.
Yeah.
It was like it was like that thing that I had been saying to myself, or knowing for all those years, I can do this.
Yeah. Now, the fact that you guys were shooting in Prague, serving as Vienna, was remarkable in and of itself, because Milos, at that time, had not been back to Czechoslovakia, right? He had fled and would have risked jail had that not been,
That's
right?
absolutely right, yeah. Yeah, it was still under communism.
Right.
They would have thrown his ass in jail.
Yeah.
It had a lot of work to get them to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a tough customer.
Well, and to that point, I wanted to ask you, when he didn't like something you guys were doing during production.
That's terrible! You're acting very too much! He would never say terrible. He said, no! He was, and he had this big voice, this wonderful voice. God, the women loved him. Yeah, he really loved women, too.
Well, so the audition you mentioned.
He had when he was married, you know, when he left Czechoslovakia, he couldn't go back, because he'd throw his ass in jail. So he had a family there, and he had twin boys. And when he got to America and had set up his life here, the woman he married here had twins. Amazing. I only say that because I loved him.
Yeah.
I owe him big time.
Now, you mentioned at the audition, he kind of asked you, or one of the meetings, the auditions, you know, you were going to have to play this man, Salieri. By my math, I guess he would have been in his 20s, 30s when he's younger in the film, and then 73 when we see him later on. I know you've done a lot of theater, you've done a lot of stuff, but had you ever had a challenge like that to play? There's all kinds of physical aspects of that too, right?
No, I'm not. First of all, I may tell you about a challenge. If you've got a good script, it's not a challenge anymore. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you that sincerely. And that's a great script, but written for actors. But the thing about the age was getting the voice right. I had to work really hard to get that. It was the makeup that made the day. It was the genius creator who did it. I mean, Dick Smith was known as the genius, and he really created prosthetic makeup. Our first session to make the old man's makeup was 14 hours long. Yeah, and the next one was 12. Shall I tell you why?
Please.
You want to hear why? Because I do talk a lot.
This is good. This is great.
Okay. The difference between what makes that great prosthetic process work, otherwise it looks like a mask. You know, those masks you buy in the store and it doesn't move. What you do is lay in little strips of very thin prosthetic material right where your musculature is, so that when yours move, it moves. And that makes it alive. But that means hours and hours of laying it in. And when I got through, each day when we finally got it perfected, took 4.5 hours. Every single morning before we began principal photography, 4.5 hours in the chair, and then we work. But that's not a bad thing. In fact, when I got up out of that chair, I looked at myself, and he put these lenses in my eyes that looked like they were glaucomish, and I could see this old man looking back. So I knew that was taken care of. I believed it. It was just the voice I had to do. And I loved that old man because he was so funny. But I'm going on and on because I wanted you to know that I won an Academy Award with that makeup, but so did many other people with Dick Smith's makeup.
True.
Dustin Hoffman, he did it for him, for Little Big Man. He did the makeup, the old man makeup for Marlon Brando in Godfather. Marlon Brando had old man makeup on, and Dick did that. Anyway, it's not an accident that he was the makeup man.
It's a big part. Yeah,
for
interesting.
Academy Award winners.
When you're making that movie, you made a decision to not live with any of the other people.
Yeah.
What was that about?
We were in Prague for about 6.5 months, and it was, when I say under communism, I'm not going to start dashing anyone. The point is, it was hard for the Czechs to live under the heel of the Russians. They were treated badly, but and the amenities were not great. But there were a few first-class, so-called first-class for their hotels, and they were always filled with hookers. I mean, that they had to make a living. There's no, you know, I don't mean filled with liquor. Sometimes you had to ask if they would give up their seat so you could have some breakfast. But the point is, it's one of those unfortunate things. When there's no money around, you do what you have to do. But they lived there in the Intercontinental Hotel, all of them, and I lived in an old hotel, ex-Grand Hotel, because I thought it was what the kind of living Salieri would do, with chandeliers, and it was ratty-tatty, but it was still kind of grand.
But also
it was separate.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with anyone else because I thought Salieri was separate. He loved the church, he was devoted to it, but he was alone. And I think it paid off. I mean, Tom Hulse and I, we never had anything to do with each other except on camera. No, we like each other. It was fine, but that had nothing to do with like or dislike. I became very good friends because of that with the Czech society, which was pretty neat.
So the film eventually comes out with a part that you, going in, knew had the potential to change your life. Now you see it like everybody else, go to see it on the big screen. What was that like? And just even, you know, having a substantial part on screen for really the, not that there were, I guess size is not the only criteria, but you had, I guess it must have been different than anything you'd seen before. What was your experience of seeing yourself in this movie?
All I saw was the mistakes. I'm sorry to say that. And I'm not being modest. I'm a humble man now. But then I wasn't so humble, but I know the work. And there are things that make me cringe. It's hard for me to watch it. There's some good stuff, too. I like the old man best, but there's only one perfect performance in that movie, I think. And that was the Emperor. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Did you know, interestingly enough, the guy who played the Emperor, shame on me.
Is this Jeffrey Jones?
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah.
His profile, he was given to wear a medal from the period with the profile of the emperor there. And he has the same profile as the emperor. It's kind of extraordinary. Oh, and something else. When we were on the set rehearsing a bit before we began principal photography, there was a portrait of Rondo Treese, the guy who played Mozart's father, in his apartment house, and it was because he loved his father. And when Roy came to the set one day, one of the Czech actors said, not Czech actors, Czech craftsmen said, "Gee, isn't it lucky they found an actor who looks just like the portrait?" Isn't that charming?
So you get all kinds of recognition from critics. Obviously, it's a hit movie. Various awards, including the Golden Globe leading up to the Oscar nomination, and then going there as a Best Actor nominee in the same category as your co-star, Tom Hulce. And Shirley MacLaine comes up and announces that the Best Actor of the year for 1984 in early 1985 is F. Murray Abraham. And I wonder, what do you remember most about that night, and including your interaction with Shirley?
I hate to say it. It was kind of fuzzy in my mind, my memory. I remember the things that happened, but I was just going through it, being led here and there. But I do know that my wife kind of shook me to let me know that I was the one, because you don't, all the time leading up to that, all the weeks and weeks where people are, talking about it, you try not to think about it because you don't want to be so disappointed. You try to think about anything else. You pretend that it's okay if you lose. And you say, "I'm not going to make a speech. I'm not going to make it up in my mind. And you wake up in the morning with a speech coming out of your mouth. Your subconscious is, I'm telling you. Or you're in the middle of the day and you're trying to eat and what am I going to say? It's like you don't want to jinx it, but you jinx it. And that's it. I don't know how to describe going through that process is. I wasn't blasé. I wasn't matter of fact. And Shirley MacLaine helped a lot. She was a real wonderful lady.
She had something to say.
Yeah, she said, "Murray," we had seen each other a couple of times in New York before that, and she said, "Murray, you're going to win because I am saying a mantra for you." Anyway, she said, "Murray," when she gave me the award and we went walking off, she said, "Don't take the first thing they offer you."
Because this is supposedly, this moment that, you can go in many different directions after that. You were 45 on Oscar night when you won. How do you think the Oscar affected you personally and professionally?
Well, first of all, it made me insufferable. It's hard to admit, but I really began behaving like I knew everything. I had forgotten humility. I had forgotten, I didn't even think about it. I mean, I did it. Now I was full of myself. Now I was reading all these accolades and believing them instead of going on with my work. But I can see now that I was not someone I would like to have been hanging around with. I hate to admit that, but it's true. I mean, the next time I win one, it'll be different.
Oh, there we go.
But you got to think that way, man. Come on. But there was something that Bogdanovich said about becoming famous. He said it's dangerous because you begin to believe that you know everything, even the stuff you don't know.
With the benefit of hindsight of going through that experience with, you did a lot of stuff that was creative in the immediate aftermath of Amadeus in those first years. You went and taught. Not too many Best Actor winners go right away and go to be a professor at Brooklyn College like you did. You were doing off-Broadway right again. You didn't stop your desire to do theater, which obviously is not as lucrative usually as film. But the first time after Amadeus that you were on the big screen again was in The Name of the Rose. That's in 1986. So Amadeus came out in 84, you win the Oscar in early 85, and then not till 86 do we see you in a movie again, this time opposite Sean Connery. And you have said that in some ways, even if, and I don't know the specific case with you, who this person was or if it even is related to but you've said for other people who go through an Oscar experience, your agent should be maybe a bit more proactive than yours was in the immediate aftermath? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I don't regret what I did, but because there were things I was just turning down right and left because I didn't want to be another supporting actor, even with some great films. I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to do that. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't as good as, Amadeus, which nothing much is.
Right.
But I was sure something like that was coming along, and I was being very above it all. If I had had a better mentor or some advisor to say you really should take this in order to work with this director because it's an A film and you should strike while the iron is hot. But I was above that. I was that arrogant thing, that super arrogant thing, and it was a mistake. It was it's hard to say it was a mistake because I did some pretty good plays in that time too. $90 a week. Mm-hmm. But after a while, I began to realize this agent wasn't working out for me, and I was sticking to him out of loyalty. I'm a very loyal man, and that's a mistake. This is business. Mm-hmm. And what happened is I said, well, there's some offers coming in from Europe, and they were like $100,000 a day. And I said, yes. And some of them, these great extravaganza movies, nothing to be ashamed of, but still, the point is I started to make some more money, and it was in Europe, and a lot of connections through Italy. Most of my connections were there. And I began to work all over the world, which is something I've always wanted to do. I shot pictures in Sri Lanka, in Russia, in Mongolia. The point is, I was seeing the world and getting paid quite a bit of money for it. But if you disappear from the scene long enough, they forget you're around. It's obvious, right? And finally, after several years, the phone stopped ringing. And then I got another agent, and things popped.
Now,
just like that.
Because I think this is so cool that you did this. During some of those years when you were primarily back doing theater, your Oscar made a few cameos, right?
Oscar has been so good to me that he has appeared in every single play I've ever done. The audience can't see him. It's all for the actor's benefit and for backstage. He's appeared in trash cans, in drawers, in suitcases, and it's a surprise when the actor discovers it. There's an Oscar in my suitcase. And then I hand it over to the stage manager, and that's your property. If as long as you want it, then I'll take it home when you're done. And the wardrobe people would design little costumes for him. He has a tutu. He's been a beach bum. Anyway,
that's great.
You can't take it too seriously. It's wonderful and it's fun. But every play I've ever done.
I love it. Well, so I'm gonna make my way like we did earlier with some of the parts en route to. Obviously, I want to make sure we talk a lot about The White Lotus, but just a few of these other notable parts on screen over the years. You were in Last Action Hero opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger. You were the duplicitous best friend there. That's 1993. Anything you want to briefly say about working with Arnold?
It was nothing but a treat. He's an absolute professional. He's a positive thinking man, and he's great to be around, has a good sense of humor. I really, really liked him. I'm glad to be able to say that.
Absolutely. Let's go 2 years after that. You were the leader of this Greek chorus that was only Woody Allen could come up with this for Mighty Aphrodite in 1995.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say about that one?
That was fun. It was the first time I was in Sicily. Was in that movie.
Yeah.
And you should cut me off because I can go on and on about
Please,
this.
we're having fun. Go
Loved
ahead.
it. It was great. Woody saw me in a play called Angels in America.
Right.
And he sent me a note. He said, "You're a charming performer," and something just brief like that. And then he said, I want you to take a look at this script. If you want to do it, fine, it's yours. But in Angels in America, I appeared in this puff of smoke behind a bedstead. And I would lay down behind the bedstead, and then the puff of smoke would happen. And on this thing, this pallet I was laying on, the pulley that went downstairs to the basement would work, and then when the puff of smoke cleared up, I would be up there, suddenly there, because of this pulley system and the thing coming up. When we went to the Greek theater, 2,500-year-old theater in Sicily, which is still functioning, by the way, it's in perfect shape, I played the leader of the chorus, and coming up from the steps to get up onto the stage, which was exactly the way it was 2,500 years ago, there was a contraption, a mechanical contraption of pulleys that was exactly like the one in Broadway. It wasn't electronic, of course, but it was exactly the same system.
Amazing, yeah.
I'm sorry I bored you with
No,
that
that's
story.
cool. That's cool. All right, so 2 years after that, 1997, you were central to the first American movie of now one of the great filmmakers, Guillermo del Toro. This was Mimic. You're playing this Dr. Gates, and the thing that I guess if we talk about that movie for a second, this was Guillermo working for Harvey Weinstein, who made his life pretty unpleasant, took the movie away from him. I think he was fired. Then you guys, the cast, I believe, kind of revolted in response to that, and he came back. But it was just not a. What was your experience with Guillermo?
It was just this. There are maybe 5 or 6 directors I'll work with forever, for the rest of my life, if I could, and he's one of them. Him, Wes Anderson, the Coen brothers.
I think you like Gus Van Sant from Finding Forrester,
Gus
right?
Van Sant was terrific. Brian, I don't know if he's working anymore. He's pretty sick. But Wes is wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that does lead to, in the year 2000, Finding Forrester. You and Sean Connery are back together again. You're playing this professor who accuses a kid of plagiarism. Van Sant, again, another guy between Good Will Hunting and My Own Private Idaho and so many movies. What makes him a director who actors love working with?
He likes actors. He understands actors. And he gives them freedom to work. And you trust him. There are certain directors you just simply trust, and some you don't. And he's one of them that you do. Very gentle, soft-spoken, smart man.
In the 2010s, you were a recurring part of the Emmy-winning drama series Homeland.
Yeah.
You were playing Dara Dahl, this mysterious intelligence agent. Several Emmy nominations for that part. He was a mysterious guy, and I heard you may have come up with a bit of a backstory.
Yeah. I'll tell you something about the woman, though, the star of that show. She's
Oh,
great.
Claire Danes, yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
She didn't, that kind of intensity you saw here on the show, she brought that to rehearsals. She was ready. She was really inspirational. I thought that my character, Dara Dahl, who I liked, was not only a bisexual, he was willing to do anything. He was really a dangerous man, and he was completely free with whatever he wanted, because he was a killer. But also, I told the wardrobe people that I thought he wore ladies' underwear. And when I came to work the next day, they had sewed lace on my panties. Some of those scenes you saw, I was wearing ladies' underwear.
Right. Later that decade, you were a part of one of the funniest episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm. This was 2017, the episode called Fatwa. You and Larry David, and you end up performing a Hamilton-style rap choreographed by Susan Stroman. Anything you'd like to
Well, I'd like
say
to talk.
about that?
How about the guy, my opposite number?
Larry, yeah. Or you
Who-
talk
in the number,
Oh,
though.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
a great man, Lin
Right.
Miranda. You'd like to hang out with him.
Yeah.
He's fun. He really is. A really straight-ahead guy. But it was just that it was amazing to me that they produced this show as many times as they do a year, and it's mostly improv. He's got these sketches, a couple of lines, this is it, and these are the lines I do want you to remember to say. Otherwise, shoot it. We didn't even rehearse. He was just get the cameras ready. Oh, he'd say, okay, cut, let's try it again, do it this, leave that out, put this in. It was amazing. I mean, it's a great accomplishment.
Nice. Well, you mentioned 2 other movies that decade, last decade. Inside Llewyn Davis in 2013. For the Coen brothers, you're playing the manager who eviscerates this aspiring musician. Quote, I don't see a lot of money here after, close quote, after the audition.
It's a great line.
And that you said, I think, like, perhaps just to bring it back to Amadeus, who was the model for this manager, perhaps? I'd heard maybe Saul Zaentz.
Oh, it was Saul Zaentz.
Who was just kind of luckily he liked you, but he could be tough.
I don't know that he liked me. I don't know that he liked many people, but I know he was smart, though, and he had good taste. Yeah. But he was in the movie business. He was a tough guy in a tough business.
Right. And then the year after that was, as you mentioned, Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson, nominated for a zillion Oscars, including Best Picture. You play Zero Mustafa, the owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel. I know you and Wes later did Isle of Dogs as well, which it took me longer than it should have to realize that's I Love Dogs, but anyway. So just working with Wes in a large ensemble, obviously we're going to come to another very large ensemble in a moment with the White Lotus, but just being being around so many other talented actors, what's that like? Fun?
No. Wes is another kind of thing altogether. I don't know how many of you know the terrific book by Saint-Exupéry, The Little Prince. Well, he's the Little Prince grown up. He's this big, tall Texan who lives in Paris with this excellent taste and just wonderful to work with. And he insists on making a family of the people that are making the movie. We all lived in the same hotel, a little boutique hotel. I mean, cast and crew, everybody. We all ate together in these big communal tables. And he would have some very famous actors come in for a day's work, 2 days' work. Take them longer to travel than it did for them to work, to shoot. And they would do it for him in a minute. That's the kind of man he is. Mm-hmm. The same kind of family happened, with
White Lotus.
Yeah, with White Lotus.
You in hotels, I guess we figured out the secret.
Yeah.
So,
by the way,
yeah, please.
When Wes gets his family that he likes together, he wants to keep them, have them in every film he makes. And I was lucky enough to have been invited to be part of his family. And in the most recent film he made, I forget the name of it.
It was in Cannes last year.
Yeah, something. Anyhow, I was busy doing something, and he called me and said, Murray, I want you to be in this, but there's nothing in it for you, so I want you to come and be in it for one day.
The French Dispatch.
He said, yeah. French Dispatch. He said, would you like to come to Paris? He said, the food is very good. He's wonderful. Yeah. I said, Wes, that's the wrong day. Can you change the day? I'm busy. I can't get it. He said, oh, rats. So I didn't do it. Well, what I'm saying is he's that kind of loyal man.
Nice.
And with oh God, I keep forgetting. But with White Lotus, we all lived in that hotel you saw. It was off season, so it was empty. We had it. Everybody, the cast, crew, we all ate together in this one big restaurant area. We all we lived together. We ate together, and we worked together. And it was just my idea of what it is, a real community.
No, sorry. So this is going to bring us now to the year for which you are being honored here today as the Outstanding Performer of the Year. So there were three things, as I mentioned. So White Lotus will be our closer. Let's just first note, Moon Knight. This is a Disney Plus limited series. You're playing the voice of Khonshu, a giant with a bird skull for a head who saved Oscar Isaac's character, turned him into his avatar. You were essentially being asked to come in and provide a voice, and it became just a Emmy nomination, right? A whole thing
for a voice.
Yeah, but tell us about it.
Oh, listen, man, listen. This is fun. I was getting for that voice. I got mail from China. Who knew the Chinese are watching this Marvel comic hero? And also, it's Oscar Isaac, by the way.
Back after eviscerating him in Llewyn Davis, yes.
But let me tell you, I live in Manhattan. I live on 11th Street and 5th Avenue. And right around the corner is that's New York University area. Mm-hmm. And the film students shoot in the area. And I went over to one of my favorite restaurants to have lunch. And they were shooting a movie there, this student film, but it was big. I mean, a lot of kids, but they were really extravagant. And I was looking at the restaurant, and one of the filmmakers came over and said, "Are you in this movie?" And I said, "No, I'm just here trying to get some lunch." He said, I know who you are, though. You're." And some other filmmaker came over and says, "Don't you know who this is? This is the voice of Khonshu." That's a true story.
That's great. Okay, so that's project number 1 of 3. Number 2 of 3, also on TV, also streaming with a TV Plus channel, Apple TV Plus, the comedy series Mythic Quest. You've done, it's now in its, or just recently did its 3rd season, but you were you were playing C.W. Longbottom, a sci-fi novelist who writes the backstories for video games, sort of the thing that nobody wants to deal with, and he's this eccentric guy. Anything you want to say about that?
It was one of the most fun times I've ever had. It was a wonderful bunch of people. I'm sorry that I'm not part of it anymore. It's one of those things.
So that was number 2 of 3, and now we get to really focus on this HBO limited series, 2nd installment of it, from Mike White, The White Lotus. You are playing Bert DeGrasso, a man on vacation with his son and grandson, who, let's just list a few things that he does. He charms, he flirts, he says inappropriate things, he farts, he has a twinkle in his eye, on and on we could go. How did you first hear about this part, and how many seconds did it take before you said yes?
As soon as I read the script, I said, well, it'll lead me on. I mean, you don't find good writing like that everywhere, anywhere. I mean, television, movies, this is particular. But the trio of us, the other men, my son and my grandson, we became very close. We had plenty of time together, and we liked each other. So we began to really bond, and they've both become good friends of mine. Yeah. And I'm glad to say, it doesn't always happen. But what was it about that? There's something that I want to remind you of.
Oh, well, I guess just, I know there was a lot of improv on this one as well,
There was
right?
some improv.
Mike?
The lines were so good.
I mean, what's your sense
Oh, I
of...
know
Yeah, please,
what
go
I
ahead.
wanted to say. I really hate that I can't do it anymore. I enjoyed it so much. I mean, being in Sicily for 4 months, man. I mean, it was like heaven.
Now, just
and
a
with
second.
people you like, you
He
know.
brought Jennifer Coolidge back for a 2nd season. Why can't he bring you back for it?
Well, can you see this guy in Japan? I don't know if that's where they're going to go. But I'll do anything. I'll
Right.
do anything. To work for Mike White, I'd do anything.
Nice.
Almost.
Well, let me ask you to... Let me ask you, I mean, on the surface, this is a limited, it's now an ongoing series, features attractive people in beautiful places doing funny things, but at the end of the day, I think it's really also quite a social commentary, both seasons so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had Parasite,
Yeah.
we've had Triangle of Sadness, and we've had The White Lotus, all of which I think have asked us to think a lot about class.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it did display it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we were nominated for a comedy series. It was drama.
Drama series this season,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, while we were isolated in this fabulous hotel, which it was originally a convent, a great big convent converted to this extravagantly beautiful hotel overlooking the Ionian Sea. Anyway, we were the only tenants for several months, and we were tested 3 times a week for COVID. Everybody. I mean, you can't mess with that stuff, right? So we were all fine until they had to start opening the doors to their other regular customers. A lot of rich people who want to come and, get their money's worth. They made reservations months before. The point is, once they open those doors, those people are not being tested 3 times a week. So several of us got the virus. And it was my last day of shooting, mine and Michael Imperioli.
Yeah.
We both were tested positive the day we were shooting our final day. I had another movie to go to in Rome at the time. those plans had to change. But my point is, I was isolated, as was Michael, for 9 days. And where else in the world do you want to be isolated? I had this hotel with this big terrace. I mean, a ridiculously big terrace. And there was the sea. I mean, 15 feet. I said, okay.
COVID's not so bad.
I'll take the virus.
Right. Last two things for me. Is there perhaps a line from the show that you are most often asked about?
Yeah, you know what it is.
Well, I got to confirm it with the source.
Let's see if I can remember it. We were discussing at the table, the three of us, we were discussing, I should mention Adam DeMarco is my grandson.
Yeah.
A wonderful, and a hockey player. Mm-hmm. I happen to like hockey. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he's discussing the beauty or the non-beauty of a penis. and I said, what do you mean beauty? It's a penis. It's not a sunset. Is that a great line?
That is.
And you know, people in New York, they'll come up to me and they, you know, right after it was shot, they say, hey, penis.
That's great. Last question for me. You know, here we are, as I said, I think 52 years into your career that we've been talking about for the last hour or so. When you look back at all that we've been talking about, all of these accomplishments and the fact that you clearly still have the hunger for it, just, I guess, give us your State of the Union right now. I mean, you're
I'll tell you very simply.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the same thing that I told Mike White the last day I was on the set. I was saying, Mike, can we shoot this thing all over again?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about my life, my career. The same way. I just want to do it again.
That's great. Fantastic.
I have a joke I'd like to do.
Please.
I have a joke I'd like to do. I can't do it. It was told to me in Italian originally. This Italian construction worker is using a power tool, and he cuts his hand off.
Here, I'll hold it. Is that?
He cuts his hand off. So he grabs his hand and he runs to a hand surgeon and says, how much to sew my hand on? He says, 5,000 lira. He says, oh. And he runs to another surgeon and says, how much to sew my hand on? He says, 1,000 lira. He says, okay. I mean, I'm sorry, not lira. I go way back. 1,000 euro.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, 1,000? Oh, all right. Yeah. He sews it back on. He goes, he goes back to the first surgeon. He says, 5,000 euro. Vaffanculo.
That's great. Well, Murray, I want to, on behalf of everybody, thank you for doing this, and it is now my great pleasure to introduce the two ladies behind this great festival. Please welcome Kathy and Robin Beck. You could sit.
Wow, that was absolutely fabulous. Wonderful. Thank you, Scott, from The Hollywood Reporter. That's Scott Feinberg, the awards editor for The Hollywood Reporter. And now we would like to present F. Murray Abraham with our Outstanding Performer of the Year Award for White Lotus.
Thanks. Thank you. There got to be a shout out to Robin and Kathy who are the founders of this, and also a shout out to Scott. I got to get the names here. I'm sorry. Scott Feinberg, Hollywood Reporter. And also to the wonderful people who are connected with the Boulder International Festival, who have been so kind and generous to me and my granddaughter Hannon, who's here. And also to Lisa Bell, who she's with the festival, and she met my granddaughter and I at the airport and has been shepherding us around and showing off Boulder. She loves Boulder. And now we do too. Thank you all. Listen, I got to tell you, there are many awards that actors covet, with good reason, because it can change your life. I have won some of those awards, and it changed my life, all for the better. But I treasure this particular award for a couple of reasons. First, it's not a contest. I didn't have to beat other actors to get it. But I mean, you know, it was a nice gesture. It was a nice thing for them to think of me for it. But also because I consider it, I regard it as a recognition of my performances, all my performances over the years, a recognition of my work, and my work is my life. I think you can see that, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. All I can say is thank you. Thank you.